What if I told you that while you were focused on headlines about car tariffs and electronics prices, something far more significant slipped through almost unnoticed? A decision made in the highest office in the land that could determine whether your savings grow or evaporate in the coming years. This isn't speculation. This is about a specific executive order that carved out a remarkable exception in the middle of the most aggressive trade war America has seen in generations. And if you're someone who thinks about protecting your wealth, who understands that paper money isn't the only form of value, then what I'm about to share with you could change how you approach the next decade of your financial life. Let me set the stage for you. When the current administration took office, they didn't waste any time. Within hours of the inauguration, executive orders started flowing. These weren't gentle policy adjustments. This was a complete restructuring of how America conducts business with the rest of the world. Using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the administration declared a national emergency over trade deficits and imposed what they called reciprocal tariffs. We're talking about a baseline 10% tariff on imports from virtually all countries, but it didn't stop there. Some nations got hit with 20-30%, and in certain cases, rates that climbed above 100%. China saw tariffs skyrocket from 84% to 125% before temporary reductions. The European Union faced rates bouncing between 20 and 50%. Canada and Mexico were hit with 25% tariffs tied to border security concerns. Steel and aluminum got hammered. Automobiles faced similar treatment. Even pharmaceuticals and semiconductors were threatened with massive duties. It seemed like nothing was safe. Everything imported into the United States would become more expensive, right? Wrong. Because hidden inside these executive orders and their modifications was something remarkable, an exemption list. And on that exemption list was something that immediately caught the attention of everyone in the precious metals world: bullion. Let me read you something directly from the official White House fact sheet. Some goods have been added to the exemption category, meaning they will no longer be subject to reciprocal tariffs. These goods include bullion-related articles and certain critical mineral resources. In trade terminology, bullion encompasses gold, silver, platinum, and palladium in forms such as coins, bars, and ingots. The National Coin and Bullion Association immediately announced this as a significant victory for the numismatic and bullion community. They confirmed that precious metals remain tariff-free under the sweeping trade policy. Now, you might be wondering why this matters to you specifically. Whether you own silver or not, whether you've ever considered precious metals as part of your financial strategy, this decision has implications that ripple through the entire economy and touch your wallet in ways you might not expect. In the segments ahead, we're going to break down exactly why the administration made this decision, what it means for silver prices and the broader economy, how it affects everything from solar panels to medical devices, and most importantly, what moves you might consider making in response. The game has changed. An executive order has been signed, and understanding what just happened could be the difference between watching opportunities pass you by and positioning yourself for what's coming next. So why did silver get this exemption? Why would an administration so aggressive about imposing tariffs on everything from Chinese electronics to European automobiles decide to give precious metals a free pass? The answer reveals something profound about how our economy actually works and what the government truly considers valuable. Here's the uncomfortable truth that drove this decision. The United States simply doesn't produce enough silver to meet its own needs. We're talking about a massive supply gap that no amount of wishful thinking can close overnight. Silver isn't just for investment coins and jewelry. It's absolutely critical for industrial applications that touch nearly every sector of our modern economy. Think about what silver actually does in our world. Solar panels rely on silver paste to collect and move electricity in photovoltaic cells. It's one of the most expensive components in solar technology. Electronics, from your smartphone to your laptop to the computer systems in your car, all depend on silver's unmatched electrical conductivity. Medical devices use silver for its antimicrobial properties in wound dressings, catheters, and countless instruments. Water purification systems rely on silver. Batteries need it. Manufacturing processes across dozens of industries require it. If the administration had slapped tariffs on silver imports, the consequences would have been immediate and severe. Industrial costs would have exploded as American manufacturers suddenly paid 10, 20, or 30% more for a critical input. Those costs would either destroy profit margins or get passed directly to consumers. It would have been economic self-sabotage on a massive scale. But here's what most people miss about this exemption. It isn't just about cold economic calculation. It's a statement. By placing precious metals in a protected category, exempt from the trade chaos, exempt from the tariff wars, the administration is implicitly acknowledging something profound. Bullion is different. It's not just another commodity like steel or soybeans. It's a form of money, a store of value, a critical resource that transcends normal trade considerations. This recognition matters because it tells us how those in power actually think about precious metals, even if they rarely say it out loud. When push comes to shove, when the chips are down and hard decisions must be made, gold and silver get treated differently than ordinary goods. They get protected. There's also a strategic dimension here that sophisticated observers immediately recognized. The exemption strengthens, rather than weakens, the credibility of the entire tariff regime. By showing that the administration can distinguish between leverage points and self-inflicted wounds, they demonstrated that economic logic, not just political theater, drives these decisions. You don't use tariffs on things you need to import anyway. That's not leverage. That's just shooting yourself in the foot. America needs silver, gold, platinum, and palladium because domestic production falls far short of consumption. By exempting these metals from the start, the administration sent a clear message to trading partners. We're serious about tariffs, but we're also smart about it. We're not going to harm our own industries and consumers unnecessarily. This calculated approach actually makes the threat of tariffs on other goods more credible, not less. Now let's talk about something that should have your full attention if you're thinking about where to position your money in the months and years ahead. The supply and demand dynamics for silver are shifting in ways that most mainstream financial coverage completely ignores. Understanding this equation could give you a significant advantage over investors who aren't paying attention to what's happening beneath the surface. Global silver production has been relatively flat for years. The big mines are in Mexico, Peru, China, Australia, and Russia. The United States produces some silver, but nowhere near enough to satisfy domestic consumption. Here's where it gets really interesting. The tariff structure that's now in place creates a powerful incentive for manufacturing to relocate to American soil. Think about it this way. If you're a company that makes solar panels and you're trying to decide where to build your factory, this tariff structure just pushed you toward the United States. Import your silver tariff-free, manufacture your panels domestically, and avoid the tariffs on finished goods entirely. This is exactly what the administration wants, but it also means that domestic demand for silver is about to increase significantly. The same logic applies to electronics manufacturers, medical device companies, and any business that uses silver as a critical input. If the raw material flows in without tariffs, but finished goods face steep duties, the economic calculation changes dramatically. Manufacturing in America suddenly makes financial sense in ways it didn't before, and all that manufacturing needs silver. Some estimates suggest that solar panel manufacturing alone could consume up to 20% of global silver supply within the next few years. Electric vehicles need silver for their electronic systems and conduction components. The rollout of 5G networks requires silver. Artificial intelligence hardware depends on it. Advanced manufacturing processes across multiple sectors are silver intensive. Meanwhile, silver supply from mining is relatively inelastic. You can't just decide to produce more silver overnight. New mines take years to develop and bring online. Exploration, permitting, construction, workforce training, all of this takes time. What happens when demand increases but supply is constrained? Basic economics tells us that prices rise. The tariff exemption didn't just protect silver from additional costs, it positioned the metal at the center of a supply-demand dynamic that could drive significant price appreciation. But there's another layer here that's absolutely critical for investors to understand. Physical silver, the actual metal you can hold in your hand, just became one of the most attractive hedges in a tariff-heavy economic environment. When tariffs push up the cost of imported goods, inflation follows. Consumers pay more for everything from electronics to automobiles to building materials. That inflation erodes the purchasing power of paper currency. Historically, precious metals and silver in particular have served as inflation hedges. When paper money loses value, tangible assets tend to hold their worth. Now, silver has an additional advantage. It's explicitly exempt from the very tariffs that are driving that inflation. You have an asset that historically hedges against inflation, is seeing potential demand increases from reshored manufacturing, and faces no additional tariff costs that would normally suppress its attractiveness. That's a combination worth paying attention to. Even if you never purchase a single ounce of silver, even if precious metals have never been part of your financial thinking, this executive order matters to your wallet. The ripple effects touch nearly every aspect of modern life, from the electronics you buy to the energy you consume to the healthcare you receive. Let me walk you through exactly how these connections work, because understanding them helps you make smarter decisions regardless of whether silver itself becomes part of your investment strategy. Silver is in virtually every electronic device you own. Your smartphone contains silver. Your laptop has silver components. Your television, your appliances, your car's electronic systems, all of them rely on silver's exceptional conductivity. Now, many of these products, especially those manufactured overseas, just got hit with tariffs ranging from 10% to over 100%, depending on their country of origin. The silver inside them is tariff-free, but the labor, assembly, and other components are not. This means consumer electronics prices are climbing. That new phone you were planning to buy, expect to pay more. That laptop upgrade, more expensive. Smart home devices, gaming consoles, tablets, all potentially affected. The silver exemption prevents these prices from climbing even higher than they otherwise would, but the increases are still coming. Understanding this helps you plan your purchases and budget accordingly. Solar energy is another area where this policy decision has major implications. Solar panels rely heavily on silver for their photovoltaic cells, and the push toward renewable energy has been driving explosive growth in silver demand from this sector. If silver had been tariffed, solar panel costs would have spiked even more than they already are, slowing the renewable energy transition and making electricity more expensive for consumers. The exemption keeps solar expansion more economically viable. However, here's the catch. Many solar panels are manufactured in China or other countries now facing heavy tariffs. Even though the silver component is exempt, the finished panels are not. This is creating massive pressure to build solar panel manufacturing facilities in the United States, which could eventually stabilize costs, but will take years to fully materialize. Healthcare costs are already a major concern for most families, and silver's role in medical applications means this exemption has real implications for what you pay at the doctor's office and pharmacy. Silver's antimicrobial properties make it essential in wound dressings, medical instruments, catheters, and countless other healthcare products. The exemption helps prevent raw material cost increases from flowing through to medical supplies. But again, if these devices are manufactured overseas, they still face potential tariffs on the finished goods. The bottom line across all these sectors is the same. Tariffs are inflationary. When imported goods cost more, either businesses absorb those costs and cut into their own profits, or they pass them on to consumers through higher prices. Usually, it's the latter. The exemption on precious metals moderates this inflation somewhat by keeping one critical input cost stable. But overall, you should expect prices to rise across multiple categories as tariff policies work through the economy. This is precisely why savvy investors are using this moment to shift some wealth into tangible assets. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about preserving what you already have. The silver exemption didn't happen in isolation. It's one move in a much larger chess game being played between the United States and its trading partners around the world. Understanding this bigger picture helps you anticipate what might happen next and how it could affect your financial decisions. The executive orders that created these tariffs weren't just about punishment, they were about leverage. The administration set up a framework that essentially creates a menu of products where tariff rates might be reduced if a trading partner concludes a favorable deal with the United States. Think of it like a negotiating playbook. If you give us what we want on certain issues, we'll ease up on tariffs for specific categories of goods. Several countries have already cut deals under this framework. Japan agreed to a framework that reduced their tariff rate and included a commitment of hundreds of billions of dollars in investment into the United States. The European Union negotiated down to lower rates with exemptions for certain categories including aircraft, pharmaceuticals, and natural resources. These deals are reshaping global trade relationships in real time, and more negotiations are ongoing. The precious metals exemption makes perfect strategic sense within this context. You don't use tariffs on things you absolutely need to import. That's not leverage. That's a disadvantage in negotiations. By exempting silver, gold, platinum, and palladium from the start, the administration preserved its credibility while protecting critical supply chains. China deserves special attention in this discussion because the tariff battle with China has been the most intense of all. Rates that ballooned to 125% before temporary reductions, constant back-and-forth negotiations, and retaliatory tariffs flying in both directions. Silver sits right in the middle of this conflict. China is both a major producer of silver and the manufacturing powerhouse for countless silver-containing products. The exemption on silver itself means that raw silver from China can still flow into the United States without tariffs. But products made with that silver in Chinese factories get hammered when they're exported to America. This creates a fascinating situation. China can still sell its silver to American buyers, generating revenue from its mining operations, but loses competitiveness on value-added manufactured goods. It's a policy that manages to thread the needle between punishing Chinese manufacturing while recognizing American dependence on Chinese commodities. There's also a currency dimension to all of this that often gets overlooked in mainstream coverage. Trade wars and tariff battles create currency volatility. The dollar might strengthen against some currencies and weaken against others depending on how trade negotiations play out. This uncertainty is exactly when investors traditionally flee to precious metals. Gold grabs the headlines as the ultimate safe haven, but silver offers similar protection at a lower entry price point, and with potentially higher percentage gains due to its smaller market size. The exemption ensures that this flight to safety mechanism remains unimpeded. Investors worldwide can still access silver without additional costs imposed by American tariffs, maintaining the metal's role as a global store of value during turbulent times. So where does all of this leave you after everything we've discussed, from the executive order itself to the supply and demand dynamics, from the inflation implications to the geopolitical chess game? What's the actual takeaway? What should you be thinking about as you consider your own financial future? Let me bring this down to earth and talk about what all of this means in practical terms for someone who wants to protect and grow their wealth in uncertain times. The tariff exemption on silver represents something larger than just a policy footnote. It's a recognition at the highest levels of government that precious metals occupy a different category than ordinary commodities. The decision to exempt bullion from sweeping tariffs while hitting virtually everything else accomplishes several things simultaneously. It acknowledges America's dependence on imported precious metals. It protects industrial sectors that rely on silver as a critical input. It maintains precious metals' role as alternative stores of value during economic disruption. And it creates incentives for manufacturing to relocate to the United States. Whether you agree with the broader tariff policy or not, this exemption reveals how those in power actually think about gold and silver when they have to make hard choices. The risk-reward profile for owning silver as part of a diversified portfolio has shifted meaningfully. Supply is constrained while demand from multiple sectors is growing. Inflation is likely to persist as tariff costs work through the economy. Economic uncertainty supports safe haven asset allocation. And now silver sits in a protected category, exempt from costs that are hitting almost everything else. This doesn't mean silver is guaranteed to skyrocket in price. Markets are complex, and countless factors influence outcomes. But the fundamental case for holding some silver as part of a broader wealth preservation strategy has strengthened considerably. If you're considering adding precious metals to your portfolio, options include physical silver in the form of coins, bars, or rounds, exchange-traded funds that track silver prices, or mining company stocks that offer leveraged exposure. Here's the deeper truth that this entire situation illustrates. We're living through a period of enormous economic change. Tariff regime shifts, persistent inflation pressures, supply chain restructuring, and geopolitical tensions are creating an environment where flexibility and diversification matter more than ever. The old assumptions about how markets work and how wealth is preserved are being tested. Those who adapt and position themselves thoughtfully will fare better than those who ignore what's happening. Silver isn't magic. It won't solve all your financial problems, but as part of a well-thought-out approach to building and preserving wealth, it has earned its place in the conversation. The executive order has been signed, the exemption is in place, the markets are responding. The question isn't whether this matters, the question is what you're going to do with this information. Because at the end of the day, the best financial decisions aren't just about chasing returns. They're about protecting what you've built, preserving your purchasing power, and positioning yourself to weather whatever comes next. That's a lesson that applies whether we're talking about silver, real estate, stocks, or any other asset. Staying informed, thinking strategically, and acting with intention. That's how you navigate uncertain times.